GLP-1 medications out there.
GLP-1 weight loss drugs.
Reducing our appetite so we don't eat too many donuts.
Are GLPs the end of the obesity crisis?
They're just a solution for people who are lazy. And some people need them to help them solve the health problem that they currently have.
Like the GLP-1 just gives you the opportunity to build a much better foundation.
Have they had a net positive effect on weight loss? Yes. Do I think they've been abused? Absolutely. It's not black or white. If you abuse them, you run into a host of other issues. The goal with all of this stuff is always to make an informed decision.
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters. I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Supra Human Show, yeah?
Are GLPs the end of the obesity crisis?
Yeah, that was better, to be fair.
Yes or no?
That was better than what
better than my idea.
Well, this is I guess it's a hot topic because was it the last 2 years?
Yeah.
One to 2
Yeah,
years.
about
They
2
boomed
years.
The last 2 years.
GLPs have been the talk of the town, social media, doctors, TRT clinics, longevity clinics. They've been huge, and there's a couple different ones, but for the sake of this conversation, we're just going to say GLPs because we know we got Ozempic and Mounjaro, I think is the brand name.
Yeah. They call them, there's the medication name and then there's the brand name, isn't it? And they get confused between the two.
Yeah.
But there must be what are they up to now? GLP-4 or something, is it?
I think later this year. I think there's GLP-3 out right now. But
You can understand why they've been booming though. Like if you think about the people who struggle like to lose weight, and they'll always seek things that require like very little effort,
yeah,
And
well, fat. If there was a fat loss pill, then
yeah, they would take. And these are just looks like they're pretty effective.
This is my not pet peeve, but kind of like told you so. Where I've always had like a.
I know where this is going.
Yeah,
I've always had a
on,
very.
you tell 'em.
I've always had like a very. I wouldn't say strong stance, but just kind of like, this is probably 10 years back now, maybe more, like plus size modeling, like when it come out.
The body confidence.
Body confidence
March.
thing, plus size modeling, and modeling's always kind of been that. And I'm not talking about like the zero size modeling where, it used to be like, how skinny can you be? But just models in general. And I'm talking about male models as well. It's like modeling was for what society would class as like the top 1% of like good looking people. So for guys, that's probably like chiseled jaw, over 6 foot, lean physique, like none of us. And like take us, and it's the opposite.
I was just thinking that. I don't take any of those.
Yeah. And so it was like that's what like kind of modeling was, like, men's health, men's fitness, that's what would be on the front, Vogue magazine, it would be like the, the beautiful women, like, and that's like, people could say like, well, it's biased or whatever. It's like, but it's very generalized. Like on average, the average person would say like, yes, beautiful, like 10 out of 10.
That's why they sell. Like if people didn't like them, they wouldn't sell.
Yeah. And so then there was like this surge of like, body positivity, plus size modeling, on men and women kind of side. And I'm all for body positivity, but, then you go into the realms of like, but are you promoting an unhealthy lifestyle, because we know that being obese, there's loads of health risks that go with that. But the main thing was like the people that would claim that they're very body positive and they love being overweight and they're very happy in and of themselves. All those fuckers jumped on Ozempic the moment it come out. And it's like, well, you couldn't have been that happy then.
Oh, you've changed your tone.
Yeah. And so it's like now you've jumped on it and you've lost all the weight. And it's like, I'm even more happy. And it's like, so really you were full of shit. And because, if it was, I'm happy where I'm at. I'd love to lose a bit of weight, but I just don't want to do it. Fair enough. I appreciate the honesty. But it's like almost shaming people for wanting to lose weight and being in great shape. And we almost like did a huge pendulum switch where it's like, you'd be shamed for having a six pack, being like, you've got eating disorders, you're obsessive over it, especially the women, like women who were in great shape were getting shamed, more so than anyone else, by overweight women, which was kind of like
vain.
And then it's like the moment that this, peptide come out and was available, everyone jumped on it, lost loads of weight. And it's like, Lizzo was the perfect example. It's like, no, love being big, blah, blah, jumps on it, loses loads of weight.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, just say I would prefer to be leaner, but I'm not willing to do anything to do it.
I'm like, cool.
But if I can get my hands on something that is going to help me, I am going to do it. Fine.
Yeah,
That's literally what it was. It's like, I want to lose weight, but it's really hard. And then this peptide makes it a little bit less
said,
hard. It makes it worth it.
I said this like 10 years ago. I said, yeah, but if there was a fat loss pill, they'd all take it. Like it's and so like I think that it didn't annoy me, but it's kind of like like so much for body positivity and stuff when it's you know, when
It's that but of course.
It's almost like they weren't willing to put in like the work because it was hard, and now this stuff makes it a little bit less hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think with the GLPs, like I'm not for or against them. Like I'm kind of like just it's very context and situation dependent. I think, have they had a net positive effect on weight loss? Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Do I think they've been abused? Absolutely. And so I think, is there people that shouldn't use it? 100%. Is there people that it would really benefit? 100%. And so it's the issue with any of these things when they work is they will always be abused. You know, it's no different than, you know, supplements that then get banned by WADA because they have proven to be effective, they get abused, so then they get banned. And I think it's like anything that kind of comes mainstream, people will always like take the piss with it. And then it'll be like, here's all the negative reasons why you should never do it. And it's like, well, that's a bit extreme as well. And so like the answer is always somewhat in the middle from what you see on the media.
Yeah.
You know,
People love extremes, don't they?
Yeah.
But that's why it's not like I'm for or against it. It's almost like, am I for or against ibuprofen? Or like, am I for or against metformin? It's like, well,
It depends.
like, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm for or against either of them. I'm like, does this person need them within this environment?
Yeah.
If they do, then
I've got a really bad headache.
then yes.
yeah. Are you in pain?
Yeah. Have you got a bad back? Yes. Have ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Are you just like hungry? Yes. Don't have ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Have a GLP. No, it's not really a for or against, and that's where people paint the picture, because some people try to then go down again. When you say about the extremes, is they go down the other route where it's like, they're just a solution for people who are lazy, and it's like, well, not necessarily either. Again, you're going down a real rabbit hole there. It's some people need them to help them solve the health problem that they currently have.
Yeah.
Right, just like any other medication that we make. So like, you know, if someone's got higher blood pressure and they're in their 60s, and you know, it's lifestyle related, like they don't exercise, they smoke, they drink too much, and they're overweight. Like, you can say to that person, well, you need to do all these things to help solve that problem. But you know that like the chances of them not of doing that is so slim, it's easier and more realistic solution to the problem to go, here is a blood pressure medication, start using this, try and do the other things as well. But this is going to help at least bring that blood pressure down.
That's a great example though, because then let's say they take too much of the blood pressure medication, then they have low blood pressure, and that's got its risks. And so it's the same thing with the GLPs, where, well, if you abuse them, you run into a host of other issues. You know, common ones is basically, and it's probably one of the number one issues is like malnourishment, because I think they can be so effective at decreasing your appetite and thirst, you know, that you end up having electrolyte imbalances, so you feel, you know, lightheaded and like have low energy all day,
Dehydrated,
constipation.
It's basically like you're not getting side effects from the GLP, you're getting side effects from an extremely low calorie diet, where if you did the same thing without the GLP, you'd probably be feeling the same. If you're eating 600 calories a day, not enough protein, and not drinking enough water, you'd probably feel like shit. And you do it with a GLP, you'll probably feel like shit. But you're less aware of the side effects initially because of the GLP. Like, you don't feel the hunger, but you will feel the fatigue. And, you know, that's one of the most common side effects. And it's not that GLPs make you tired. It's no, eating fuck all makes you tired. And so I think like two of the biggest things that I've seen is significantly under eating, which, if you're 300 pounds, you know, like extremely low calorie diets have been a thing before GLPs. You know, it was gastric bans, you know, where you could physically only eat 400 to 600 calories a day. You'd have a bit of soup, and like a chocolate bar, and you'd be like, oh, I'm stuffed.
I've seen someone after a gastric ban track half an egg.
Yeah,
Half
you
an
have
egg.
you have a bite, and you're like, oh, I'm done.
Mad.
And so and they were really effective because it's like they put massive barriers on what you can and can't do, and GLPs have kind of been like a much less invasive version of that to an extent, where it's like, well, I'm just not hungry. I can't physically eat more because it makes me feel sick. And for some people, I think that's necessary to start making the changes that they need to make. Because one thing which a lot of people will talk about is like food noise, which is like a bit of a weird concept, but it's for a lot of people that are significantly overweight, they typically have a very bad relationship with food, where they use it as some kind of coping mechanism to deal with stress or depression or comfort, whatever it is. And if you can get rid of that, or like quieten down that kind of like knee-jerk reaction, it gives a coach enough time to start implementing some different behaviors. And so it's like it's like if you went to get therapy because you were depressed, and you were so depressed that like you weren't even listening to what the therapist was saying, the therapy is useless because you're not paying attention. You're not in a position to be therapized. But if then you took antidepressants, which then led you to be, I feel a bit better today, and you're actually paying attention, it gives you the opportunity to receive the therapy. And so I think with GLPs, it's almost like just getting rid of the noise enough for you to actually be in a position to start making changes. But if you don't make those changes and you just rely on the drug to decrease your appetite and starve yourself, again, short-term solution. Eventually, you're going to get side effects. You're going to get negative health effects. You're going to come off it. You're going to get a hunger rebound. You're going to gain all the weight. And then you're going to go online and say, GLPs are bullshit. They ruined my life. And it's like, well, you did that yourself.
You're just slapping a Band-Aid on the problem there, aren't you? Rather than using it to build like a foundation of habits. You become less reliant on it.
This is the, like that analogy of like you're putting a Band-Aid on it versus addressing the wound. When my view has always been like, but you can do both. Like you can put a Band-Aid on the bleeding whilst you address the wound. Like it's not one or the other.
Yeah.
And like same like, when it comes to tracking and nutrition, it's like, well, we want to teach people how to fish versus giving them the fish. Some people, it takes them really fucking long to learn how to fish. They're going to starve if I don't give them a fish as well. So it's like, I'll give you a meal template whilst we learn how to track. So like it's not black or white. Like it's like you can do both at the same time. And I think that's where GLPs can have a real benefit. To get people in a position to be able to receive coaching and start making changes.
And even if it can just make the process, because given all the other things that someone has going on in their life, whether they have kids, they're busy with work, they travel a lot, they got all these other stresses on in their day-to-day life, like trying to lose weight can be another stressor that they add. So like even just for some people, it's just, it makes it a little bit easier to get the job done. So it's like, I'll just make it like if I've got the means to make my life a bit easier down one avenue, like I may as well do it. Like if I'm willing to do that. But it's when I think where you say like, is it the solution to the problem? It's like, well, no, like someone's appetite is part of the problem. It's not the only problem. So, and that's what a GLP does. Like if you're looking to be, say you're 300 pounds and you want to get yourself into a position whereby you're healthy, you're fit, you're in shape, you look good aesthetically, whichever, if you want to tick those boxes, well, just reducing your appetite is not going to get you there. Like it's going to help you eat less and then potentially lose
an aspect of it.
And then potentially lose some weight. Okay, great. But then, one, if you don't change any other behavior, well, then that's supposed to be used as a long-term solution. Because if the only reason you lost weight is from a reduction in appetite, if you remove the GLP, well, appetite will go back to where it was before, if not more, because your body fat cells are now less. So now it's like, eventually you're just going to go back up to where you were. So it's like, it's not going to solve the whole problem. And again, when it comes to getting in shape, building muscle, it's going to do nothing for you in terms of a muscle
lifting
building
weights
standpoint.
By itself doesn't build muscle. You need the nutrition to complement it.
So it doesn't put you in a very good position from a behavioral standpoint. it just reduces your appetite.
Yeah.
So it just makes it easier to eat less.
And that's why it's so important, isn't it? It's like what you do when you're on that GLP-1. So if you start building a foundation of good habits, like setting your environment up for success, you become less reliant on that GLP-1 as you start to taper off it.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just reliant on the jab every once a week or once a month, whatever it is.
Yeah. And if you're, from what I've seen, if doses are too high, and weight loss is too fast, you do risk muscle loss. And again, from, not eating enough protein consistently, I think if you're using, if you're low on your protein intake or your calories for a short stint, I really don't think there's any issue. It's like we've done really aggressive diets without GLPs, you eat 1,000 calories a day and your protein is a bit under, you're not going to have these long-term, side effects from doing that. But if you're on a GLP and you've been under eating protein for 6 months plus, and you're not resistance training, your muscles got no reason to stick around. And this is where you say, like, you start off as a big soup bag and you end up as a small soup bag. And so you still don't look the way you want to look. You're just a smaller version of how you looked at 300 pounds. Whereas if you're using a GLP at a reasonable dose that still allows you to get your protein intake in, and then you start resistance training and you're getting your steps in, it can be a great addition.
Yeah, it's that tool that adds on, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like when people see someone who's overweight, the result of that is obviously the energy surplus over time. But then what behaviors would you correlate with that to some degree is inactivity and overconsumption. So what you're doing is, or I say not overconsumption, you would say inactivity and a poor quality diet. I guess what you could correlate with that. So just by bringing in the GLP-1, you can still be inactive. You can still have a poor quality diet. You've just reduced the amount that you consume within that poor quality diet. Therefore, you've lost weight. But you still have a poor quality diet. And if anything, your diet could potentially be considered worse because now you're drastically underfed as well. So it's like you got a very similar problem just the other way.
I mean, you could look at, there's quite a strong correlation between like fiber intake and health benefits.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, exactly. Like protein and fiber are like two of the key things. And it's like, guess what you don't feel like eating when you're on a GLP? Protein and fiber. Guess what bungs you up the most when you're on a GLP because your gastric emptying is slower? Protein and fiber. And so it's like there has to be like that sweet spot where you can still eat enough of those things, because you're on a GLP, the last thing you want to eat is chicken breast, or like, and so you're probably going to lean more towards liquid, cows in terms of protein. You're not going to want a massive salad and a bowl of vegetables because you're going to get constipated. And so there's like a, and then that has its host of other issues and stuff. So I think there is a bit of a knock-on effect.
From that standpoint, that is quite interesting actually, because by introducing the GLP-1, you may actually lean into worse eating
Food
behaviors,
choices.
worse food
100%.
choices. So say now you ran that for 12 months. Now it's like, oh, well, I've developed a whole set of new eating habits. Now I pull the GLP and it's like, I've got even worse eating habits than I had before.
Not eating vegetables for a year.
And my appetite, boom, shoots up. But it's like, oh, well, now I'm in an even worse position than I was prior. So you need to consider, I think some people think that it's just, this solves this problem and it's done. And it's like, well, no, it plays a role, but all the other problems are still there. Again, you're just putting a Band-Aid over it. And again, there's something to be said for just putting a Band-Aid over it. It's like, if someone is 400 pounds and they're at serious health risk and they've accepted the fact they're going to have to pay for this thing that is going to help them reduce their body weight in the long run, and that has a whole host of health benefits for them, great. Like if that's the only solution you have. But the game is so much more than that. If you want any sort of physical condition, if you want to feel good, if you want to perform well, if you want to not pay for something for the rest of your life, like there's all these other things that come into play.
And that's where like context is really important on whether you should use it or not, like weighing up the pros and cons, like considering all these things. Like imagine, I don't know, you're 3 weeks out from a bodybuilding show. Do you really want to take that with all the potential cons? Or if you're 400 pounds and you've got all these health issues, maybe it's more suitable, And
there's a lot of clients that the reason why they're overweight and want to get leaner or whatever, say they're 40 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight, it's not really like the appetite isn't an issue. Like I have a lot of clients where, they're not using GLPs and we bump up their protein and increase their fiber. They're fucking stuffed. and they're struggling to get the calories in as is. It's
Yeah.
like the last thing you need is something that's going to suppress your appetite. But if you have clients where, you know, they say like, I'm just constantly thinking about food, and even when I do lose weight, I can't maintain it because I'm so fucking hungry all the time, then, you know, maybe a GLP has utility there, because it's like, well, it's going to make your lifestyle much more manageable because you're not obsessing over food 24/7. But there's so many people that they think that their appetite is the issue, and it's not. It's poor food choices. It's eating when you're stressed. It's not being aware, you know, that your protein intake is super low and your fiber intake sucks. And when you start to fix those things, it's not an appetite issue. No. But you will get clients that are in that position that will use a GLP, and it hurts them more than benefits them.
I think, like, theoretically, again, the way like your appetite is managed, someone who carries around excessive body fat shouldn't have as high an appetite.
No.
As in, like, just the desire to eat, like the feeling of like the hunger feeling. They shouldn't really have that. Obviously, they might eat for other reasons. So again, that's theoretically. There's going to be personal circumstances that are very different. But like a good example is one of my more recent clients. We started at like 2,200 calories a day or something. Like, let's just aim for around 2,200 and see how things go. But then we really prioritized a higher protein diet and a higher fiber diet as well. And he built his diet very heavily around loads of fruits, veggies, salads, and like leaner proteins. A lot of chicken breast, a lot of cottage cheese, things like this. And he was hitting like 1,400 calories. And was like, I'm full. Like, I'm really full. And it's like, like, actually, we're almost overshooting here. Like, you know, the rate of weight loss was very high. And I was like, oh, we could, you know, you can maybe sprinkle in a couple more donuts if you want them, try and get those calories up. Because it's like, and so just by shifting those food choices, it was almost like he went from overeating for years, shifted his food choices, and now he's actually struggling to even get enough calories in to feel basic needs, you know? So the food choice is huge. But again, if people really struggle to build those food choices right out the gates, and it's like, again, you're at risk of some people, because when they do try to make a change, if they don't see results in the near future, the motivations then can subside. So for that type of individual, again, it's like, well, maybe something to make that start process a little bit easier while you build the other things. Long term, it ends up in a much better outcome. There's so much context to it.
There's so much context to it.
But I just think it doesn't, you know, it's such just a part of the puzzle. And for some people, it's a big part of the puzzle. But again, you never see someone go from, they were, you know, excessively overweight, carrying around a lot of body fat. Then they're like, oh, he's shredded now. Like, oh, he's super fit. He's jacked. What was the thing that he changed? Oh, it was a GLP. Yeah. It's like, well, no, like there's so much more to the game than just that. But you might see someone who was 400 pounds. Now they're 200 and they're still pretty not in shape. But they're like, oh yeah, that GLP helped me get that off. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, like I've got a guy on Instagram that's dropped like over 100 pounds using it. Changed his life. What it did do, it improves your quality of life, because now he's lost all that weight. He can run all the time. But that's why he's doing really well. So he's obviously building another great foundation of other habits that's going to help him sustain it when he comes off it. You know, changed his food choices, for example. So like the GLP-1 just gives you the opportunity to build a much better foundation.
The other thing that people probably haven't considered is the placebo effect of taking like a peptide or something. Like, you know, if you gave someone, you know, water, and you're like, yeah, take this injection twice a week, it's quite like an invasive thing of like, oh, this must be potent because I'm having to inject it. It's not like a supplement that I just have to eat. That it's like, I think that has a significant effect. Like we know that GLPs have these side effects, but I think like placebo effect is huge.
Yeah.
And I think just like, you know, no different when like bodybuilders and things will take, you know, fat burners, and then they'll do their morning cardio. And it's like, oh, you know, this gets my body temperature up. I'm burning more fat. So then they walk a bit faster when they do their cardio. Like, I think just from like the administration of it, you're kind of like, oh, like I'm on a GLP now. I'm no longer hungry. And you're like, you've tricked yourself. Like maybe you are more hungry, but you've convinced yourself like it's working really well. And so I think like that's it's not to be dismissed because placebo effects are huge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think just like the practicality of it, of like, I think that has a huge role. And I think when people stop taking it, that has a huge implication of like, I'm no longer on this drug, this peptide. I'm gonna be starving. It's like, you're not, like, because you could even go, well, it lasts, it's not gonna be out your system for another week or two, but you've convinced yourself that now you're gonna be starving and you just eat everything. Oh, I'm not on it anymore. And it's, I think those psychological effects are huge as well.
Well, yeah, they can act out like an external motive, can't they? It's like when you join a fitness program in general, if you invest financially quite heavily into it, that's a pretty good kickstart because you're like, I don't want to waste my money here. Yep. So your motive to now change behavior is higher because you've invested from a financial standpoint. So just someone who jumped on a GLP, if they're spending X amount of $100 a month on it, it's like, well, now I'm doing this and I'm willing to take this medication and I'm now more willing to change my behaviors, whereas before I wasn't willing to change. And it can give them the confidence that like they've spoke to some of their friends who've used it, their doctors recommended it, they've read online about the results. So they now believe when I do this, I'm going to get results. So now they're more confident going into this phase and then they end up getting better results. So there's so much, when you say about the psychological changes that you'll get, like there's so much to play there as well.
Increases their buy-in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's everything, it's like adherence.
Yeah.
And I think that's again, like the underlying thing is like it allows someone to have a higher level of adherence to a calorie deficit. But again, it's like the devil's in the dosage. Like I think the no different than when you're not taking a GLP, like I wouldn't put a client on 500 calories a day, regardless of whatever else they're doing, because it's not sustainable and there's going to be, long-term consequences of that, regardless, assuming they're adhering to it.
And that's just a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Like it's so weight loss is dictated by your deficit. It's just but like getting in shape, being fit, being strong, looking aesthetic, like that's not just, you're not going to solve that with a deficit.
Exactly.
Devil's in the dosage is a good way of putting it. It's like you'll drink enough water and it'll kill you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
drinking enough lager as well.
yeah. Hey, done that many times and survived.
Yeah.
I haven't found that dosage yet.
You're on the way though.
I will say that none of us are medical professionals, doctors or nurse practitioners. So, but I mean, clients will always ask us about the things that they see on social media. Whether it's peptides, SARMs, supplements. It's the nature of the fitness industry where this pendulum swings to certain things, and even like a type of diet, or a type of training, like
everywhere.
It's everywhere, and we're always, I think it's human nature to kind of lean towards extremes because it's novel, it's new, and so it's important that we do have discussions on them. But just within our boundaries as, fitness and health coaches, like it's the number one rule as a health coach is do no harm. And so it's irresponsible for us to say these things are great. Everyone should use these things. You shouldn't do these things. It's not in our scope to kind of talk about that. But what we can say is, here is something that is talked about a lot. Here is, what some of the evidence suggests. Here is who you should speak to, aka your medical professional, where they can advise on if this is something you should consider or not. And the goal with all of this stuff is always to make an informed decision, but we're never here to make that decision for you. It's what people do with their own bodies and personal lives is entirely up to them. It's worth having a conversation about because we probably get asked these questions multiple times a week. Whether it's from clients or social media or whatever it is. Hopefully that just gives you a bit more context as kind of the conversations that we've had around these things. Again, if you work with a medical professional, then you can have that conversation. We have a great medical team that we work with called Biohacks, which is well versed in this stuff. So if you are a client and you're interested in ascending to the medical side, then absolutely reach out. But thank you as always. Be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and we'll see you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, reminding you to always go get what's yours.